Hey there. Are you ready for that time change with naps and going to sleep? You know, the time change is coming. It's coming this weekend that I'm filming this, but it comes twice a year. And this video is going to help you be prepared. But are you ready, little mama? Because we're going to be talking about it today on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. We're always wondering, right? We're wondering, how in the world am I going to navigate this with my kids? They're either going to wake up too early, they're going to wake up too late. And I mean, we even have an adjustment when we're getting ready to do a time change or just after it. You know how it is. You feel kind of draggy or cranky, or you get that great sleep, but then you can't go to sleep at night. And you know what? If us as adults struggle with it, you know that our kids who cannot navigate it in their minds and process it are going to have even more trouble. Well, we're going to help you with that today on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. And I have a very special guest, one of my go-to experts for sleep, and that's Lydia McNair. And she is a gentle sleep expert, and she is a coach, and she is going to help you and help me know how to help you too when you call me at the time change. I'm going to send you to Lydia. So I'm going to bring Lydia into the, where are you? Here you go. There she is. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, how are you?
I'm so glad you're here as usual. Lydia and I were chatting at the beginning before we got going, and Lydia has moved to my area from the DC area, and I'm so happy to have her back in Texas where she belongs. And I just want to let you know that Lydia knows what she's talking about. She has helped hundreds, thousands of moms with their children's sleep, not just time change, but sleep all over. And her course, I believe, is one of the best on sleep training, and it's called Gentle
Loving sleep. Yes, gentle loving sleep.
I know what it is. I can see it in my head. But Lydia makes it simple, but she's always very relatable. And that's what I think makes her special as a sleep coach. And her one-on-one coaching is off the chart. And I know that because I see the women commenting, and I see the reviews, and I see the people saying, "Oh my gosh, Lydia, you changed my life." Because really, having kids that sleep, it really does change a mother's life, and it changes a mother's sleep. And we need more of that, right? Okay, Lydia, tell us, how do we navigate this thing called time change?
First, we vote to say no more. No, I'm just kidding. We don't have to, but it is here, unfortunately. So there's a few things. So with today already being Thursday, right? You can try to make a few adjustments beforehand, and I'll talk about that. But most of it's going to happen after the fact. And so the biggest thing that I want parents to know of young children is to know and understand that Sunday is a 25-hour day. There's no way around that. And also, you are not going to get an extra hour of sleep. It's not going to happen. Not yet. So don't go to bed later thinking, oh, we'll be sleeping in. It's not going to happen. Your kids are going to wake up at their normal time, and your clock will say an hour earlier. So my first tip is don't set your clock back when you go to bed like they tell you to. Because if you've got a child who's normally up at 6:30 or 7, your clock in the morning is going to say 5:30 or 6. And you're going to wake up and your first initial thought is going to be like, ugh, and that's not a good way to start your day. No. Don't set it back. Okay? Because
don't you think that goes true for all of us? We all should do that.
Yes,
Right,
don't.
babe?
Yeah, just don't. Just
Just
wait till
don't.
after breakfast, after
Don't
you've
do
had
it.
your
Don't do it
coffee
to
or
ourselves.
yeah, just wait. So you're not going to get an extra hour of sleep, but you are going to get an extra hour of your day. So usually traditionally in my Facebook groups and stuff, and when I say this, you're not getting an extra hour of sleep, but you're getting an extra hour of your day. So what are you doing for your extra hour? Are you going to go on a walk? Are you going to go to the park? Are you going to go on a picnic? What are you going to do? Because you're not getting an extra hour of sleep, but you're also not losing sleep. So go to bed at your normal time. If you normally go to bed at 10, go to bed at 10. Don't go 10:30, 11. It's not going to happen. So there's that. Let's see. So then when you're handling it after the fact, this is where it gets confusing. I will try. It's very clear in my mind, but it is confusing coming out in words. So after the time change, let's say your child's bedtime is 7:30. 6:30 is when it's going to feel like 7:30 to their body. Okay? Because we're falling back. You don't want to put them to bed at 7:30 because it's like 8:30 to their body initially. And when you have a child that's overtired at bedtime, you will usually see early rising, which means they'll end up getting even less sleep. They're not going to just sleep in. That ability doesn't usually develop until somewhere between 6 and 12. So unless your child has shown you and proven to you on occasions where they have gone to bed late that they can sleep in, don't do it. You want to incrementally shift them back. So if they're not napping anymore, if we've got a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old and their bedtime, let's just say is 7:30, 6:30 to their body, you would put them to bed like 6:45, maybe 7. So it's going to be 30 to 45 minutes earlier on the clock, but 15 to 30 minutes later to their body. And so you will adjust every couple days, another 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes at the most until you see their wake up time start to adjust. Does that make sense? I know it's so confusing.
No, that really does make sense. That makes sense. That makes sense. Because increments are manageable,
Right.
right?
For
And
their bodies.
for their
too.
body. And we're navigating. We're not
Right.
like ripping off the Band-Aid.
Right.
Ripping off the
Right.
Band-Aid is not the answer,
No.
right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. For most kids. Because it doesn't always work perfectly. Like, oh, I put you to bed 15 or 30 minutes later than normal. You're not automatically always going to sleep in 15 or 30 minutes more. It doesn't always happen that way. It takes a few days. And so it's better and easier for them to function throughout their day, whether they're a toddler at home or they're in kindergarten or first grade at school. It's going to be easier for them to function if they're just 15 or 20 minutes short on the normal sleep they got,
That's
as
not
opposed
very
to
much.
an hour.
Right.
You send them to school on Monday, an hour less sleep, they're going to be a mess. You're going to have behavioral issues. They're going to be melting down when they get home. It's not going to work. So just make small changes every couple days. It takes a week, sometimes up to 2 weeks for everybody to adjust. And I think it's better that you just shift your schedule will be a little bit earlier than you like, but you're slowly going to move it back to where it was rather than to do it quickly. And then everyone's really short on sleep.
Because when you do it quickly, is this true? When you do it quickly, you rip the Band-Aid off and they don't feel good on Monday and you think, okay, but then by Tuesday they're going to be fine. But that's not the case, is it?
Right. No, they'll feel bad all week. And progressively, depending on how sensitive your children are, mine are very sensitive, it will get worse and worse. You'll have more and more tantrums and meltdowns and behavioral issues because they're exhausted. And I feel sick when I'm exhausted, when I lose an hour of sleep. I feel like physically sick. So doing it just in those little bits, their body after a couple days will adjust and then they'll sleep in a little bit more, but it's really not sleeping in. So like in this example, if they were up at 6:30, Sunday it's going to be 5:30. Maybe Monday it'll be 5:45, which is 6:45 to their body. So they are, you're trying to get back there. And so you've got to move the bedtime earlier as their wake time, or later, I should say, as their wake time starts to get closer to the old time.
So basically, this is going to take you a week. You might
Yes.
as well do it with the least amount of
lost sleep
and drama and tantrums, and because this is a real thing. This is a skill. Like in the Moms Like Us Academy, we teach skills. This is one of the skills. Actually, Lydia is a master class teacher in our on all sleep, and in the academy, and it is a skill that moms somehow we weren't taught this. I wasn't taught this. I ripped the Band-Aid on my kids all these years.
I know.
I feel like I
Everybody.
need to send out a mass text. Mom, so sorry.
I mean, you won't ruin them. It'll just be harder on everybody.
I ruined the week
Yeah.
because
Right.
they got in trouble more. Because guess who
Sure.
else didn't have sleep?
Right. Exactly. So
Oh my gosh.
I always say to like my course students, and when we're doing support calls and we're struggling with just early rising in general, or what time the bedtime needs to be, I always say, wouldn't it be better, even if it's earlier than you like, for your baby to sleep from 6:30 to 5:30 all the way through, than from 7:30 to 6 or 6:30, but they're up 2 or 3 times. Like they're, you know what I mean? Because you put them to bed too late. So if we can maximize the total sleep, and then we can make adjustments and get to where it's more manageable, then at least everybody's getting the sleep. And then the same thing for you as an adult. If you normally go to bed at 10, then on Sunday you're going to need to go to bed at like 9:15. That's or maybe 9:30. You're an adult, you might be able to handle it, but your kid is not going to sleep in. Even though you might be able to sleep into your normal time, they won't. So maximize your sleep too, so that you're not grumpy. And you just have the right mindset that like, hey, it's going to take a week. We're going to be up a little earlier for a bit, and it'll be all right. And we're getting there.
So tip number 1 is a little bit at a time.
Yes.
Tip number 2, you
don't
also.
set your clocks back.
Oh.
Yes. That's the biggest thing. Don't set your clocks back. In your mind, you will wake up and feel so irritated.
And then number 3, you got to go to sleep.
Yeah, you got to do yours too.
Okay,
And
so
then,
what else?
So then now if you've got a baby who is napping, I use like wake windows. If you don't know what that is, it's the window of time that your baby is up between sleeps. So when they wake up from a nap and how long they're up before they're ready for another sleep, whether that's nap or night. And then they have what I call like their magic window before bed. And it's different for every kid. Like there's ranges for ages, but then you figure out what that magic zone is where they get the best and the most sleep. So you don't want to mess with that magic window, whether you have one or not. If you know your baby goes to bed at 7:30 or 8:30 or whatever it is, you don't want to mess with that window. What you can do is stretch their nap windows. So if they're used to being awake between their naps, like 3 hours, they'll much more easily handle being awake for 3 hours and 15 minutes between naps than they will being awake 3 hours and 15 minutes before bed, if 3 hours was their magic window. So you want to keep that bedtime window in that 3 hours, if that's what they use, and you can stretch the nap windows anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. That will naturally push bedtime later because your nap happened later. They will wake up 15 minutes later, and then naturally go to bed 15 minutes later while still maintaining that magic window.
That's brilliant. Because you think in your mind, this has to happen at bedtime. This has to happen at bedtime, or when you put them to bed or when they get up. But when you do it, when you navigate inside of the nap time windows, wow, that's really good.
Yeah, because you don't.
This is why, girls. This is why Lydia is the expert. See. Yeah. Okay. What else?
That's pretty much it. You make, the younger your baby and the more tolerable they are to flexibility. Some kids are, they can handle it much better, and they can handle a 15 or a 20-minute shift. And some kids just can't. Right. So you may have to make they might be 5 minutes, but if you can do 5 minutes and they're taking 2 naps, that's 10 minutes. And then the next day you might be to do another 5 minutes, and now you're halfway there. So don't get hung up on necessarily how long it takes. Just keep inching forward. Just
keep navigating. What if like they wake up? Mm-hmm. Does it count that they're awake and they're just in their room, in their bed?
That is an awesome question. Yes. So this is great. I had that written down because sometimes that happens. Like their body is so programmed for their wake time, no matter what time they go to bed. Like I said, it doesn't always correlate right away. So if that happens and they still wake up at their normal time, they didn't sleep in that 15 minutes, do your best to not let it be morning until 15 minutes later or until that adjustment time. So you may keep them in their bed or their crib or whatever. And then I would stay where you were the day before. Don't go another 15 minutes. Stay at that first change until you see it flip on the wake time. Does that make sense? So it might
Where
take,
they actually are sleeping
right,
and not sitting up in their crib
sleeping
or
in
in their
that little
bed.
bit. Right. So it can take 2 or 3 days for it to click and them to follow through with that morning. So don't make another change. That's why it can take a week, because on paper you're like, oh, I make a 15-minute and here, and until we're done. But that's why it can take 2 weeks, I should say, because sometimes it takes 2 or 3 days for each adjustment to click.
What if they're crying? What if they're crying?
So that's where I would do like the sleep coaching. So I handle any waking before 6 or before your desired time as a night waking. So whatever you do as a parent, whether you're going to sit and hold them or rock them, I'm if you're doing sleep coaching with me, it's different. I would tell you to just go in there and be with them, but not get them up. Just lay on the floor. It's not that long. So while my method is not cry it out, it doesn't mean that there's never any crying. There usually is crying because we're not doing what they're used to. We're changing the rules. And so they're gonna not be happy with it. But we know that when a parent is present, it acts as a buffer for their brain. So we're not worried about distress. They're mad, but they're not distressed. So I would say, you go in there, lay on the floor, you can pat the mattress, you can rub their back and all those types of things, tell them it's still time to sleep. And then when that 15 minutes passes or whatever the time is, this is key. This is like magic. I'm giving away like magic stuff here. You have to walk out of the room for like a minute, not a long time. Then come back in as if that previous 10 or 15 minutes never happened. They weren't screaming at you for 10 or 15 minutes. You're going back in, giving your best Oscar-winning performance. Good morning. And like turn the lights on, because we don't want them to get used to waking up, screaming for 15 minutes, and then you get them up. Because if you stay in the room, they don't understand like, oh, you're getting me up because it's time. They think that you're getting them up because they just screamed at you for 15 minutes. So by walking out for just a minute, it kind of separates that, and you're helping to send the message, we're getting you up because it's time now, not because of what just happened.
And this has to do with the way the brain functions. This isn't just
right
a cute idea.
Yes.
That you want wake up time to sound like this, but literally you want to have trigger. You're making
right.
Like that book, Atomic Habits. You're putting your, when you have all the habits, and then when you have a new one, you kind of stick it in the middle of something else. So that's kind of
right. Yeah, you're trying to help their brain understand what's happening. Because a lot of times for us, with a lot of things, I can't tell you how many times I talk to parents about anything. They're like, well, I'll feed them at 3, but why are they waking up at 12 and at 4? And it's like, well, you understand that you're feeding them at 3, but they don't understand why you're doing that. So you have to go about it in a different way that their brain can understand. So you can make those changes.
That's so great. Okay, then I have another question.
Okay, hopefully I have an answer.
I think you do. I've never given you a question that you didn't. I have to have Lydia help me so that I can help moms. Lydia, so it's different between spring forward and fall back.
Yes.
You taught me that earlier.
Yes.
So talk about that.
So with the fall back, your clock is going backwards. So if you are handling it after the change, your bedtime will be earlier. If you're trying to make these adjustments, like next year, let's say you're like, oh, I'm not gonna wait till the last minute. I want to try to make some changes the week before. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna push everything later. Because if we're talking about this example of the 7:30 bedtime, and we can the week before push that bedtime to 8:30, then when the time change happens, boop, we're back to 7:30, right? Or at least push them to 8. You can take that week and just put, like, if for example you're like, oh my gosh, this is taking too long, let's go halfway. So you push them from 7:30 to 8 the week before, then it'll be 7 and you just have 30 minutes to go. Whereas in the spring, it's going to be the opposite. In the spring, we go forward. So that 7:30 bedtime will be 8:30. And if you don't want that 8:30 bedtime, then you got to start inching things earlier to prep, which means you might have to wake them up in the morning 10 minutes earlier so that they're naturally a little bit more tired for their morning nap 10 minutes earlier. And that way you go forward. Does that make sense?
It
We'll
seems
talk about the spring one in the spring.
in the spring. We'll do a spring one. It does seem like it would be easier to do the spring one.
I like the spring one better because if your baby's waking up at 6, it's 7. That's when I feel like you actually, as a parent, that's when you could get the extra sleep. And a lot of times I won't make big adjustments with my kids because in the summer I would prefer to have a later bedtime and a later wake time because we can go to barbecues and as long as it's not like 10 o'clock. But
right.
If it's 8:30 or 8:45 in the summer, I would prefer that. But then they wake up later and
This has been great. So good. Okay, girls, this is just a little bit of how Lydia can help you with the time change and with other stuff. She has a pop-up group right now, and it is called Navigating the Change. And I'll put the link in the notes so that you can go there if you're watching it live or within the next few days of the time change. And then that pop-up group, because it's a pop-up group, will go away. And then Lydia does have, Lydia, where can they get your course and watch you? She's so good on Instagram.
Yes, on Instagram, it's at Gentle Loving Sleep. My website, gentlelevingsleep.com. You can learn more about me, get my courses there. And then I would say probably where I'm most active is my Facebook group. And so that's groups, Gentle Loving Sleep. And so I can give you that link too for that free group. And then the pop-up group, which will go for 2 weeks after the time change.
Yes, because we know
it's going to take 2 weeks for some kids. So in there, I'll be able to really more personally help people because it is confusing. Like, wait, are we going later? Are we going early? Like, what's happening? And so you can let me know what's happening with your child and your situation, and I can advise.
So this is kind of like free help you're given in that pop-up group.
Yeah, sure is.
Yeah. Now that pop-up group, when those 2 weeks are done, it goes down, right?
It goes away. Yeah.
And maybe you'll do it in the spring, right?
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So, well, you're very generous with your information and everything, but I know that there's a lot more in that course. And
Yes.
so, which by the way is priced really well. Really well.
Yes.
We might need to talk about that.
I know. I want it to be an easy decision. Like, it's sleep. Like, you're exhausted. It's
I'm the same way. We got to help moms any way we can. That's our heart, and you and I are kind of heartbeats about that. So I thank you so much for helping us navigate this time change. And Lydia, you are a treasure and a joy. And look, moms like us, we got to do things like this. And in today's world, we don't have, there isn't a school for moms. Well, actually, there is. The MomsLikeUs Academy is there for you. And there'll be a link to the MomsLikeUs Academy also in the show notes for you to go in, and where you can talk to teachers just like Lydia and learn real skills, systems, tools, and strategies that don't just give you a 3-point Pinterest or even a 20-minute video, but it will really give you and help you get the traction that you need to crush it at motherhood, because motherhood shouldn't be crushing you. And the last thing I want to tell you is, girl, motherhood is not a natural talent. You're not going to just know how to do these kind of things. It's a skill, and you can learn it. And you can learn it on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. And when you do, I want to be there with you. We'll talk to you next time. Bye, sweetie. And broad.